Another day, another embarrassing performance by Justin Trudeau. Fuck, dude, you should have just stayed undercover because he went down there to Parliament Hill today and not to talk to anybody outside. God, no, they're all racists and whatever the fuck else he can possibly pile on there. But no, he went down there to deliver a speech and I don't know, condemn whoever's left. But yeah, he ended up getting heckled by the opposition. A good line, by the way. I'll let him answer. He's not good at it. And what did he do? What did he do to fight back? He just sat down like a good little cuck. He should have just fired up a Marlboro Red and then just watched the opposition fuck his points. Heckling silences Justin Trudeau in the Canadian Parliament. Leftist Canadian Prime Minister, we'll see for how long. Justin Trudeau faced jeers and insults in Parliament on Tuesday. Oh my god! Well, I guess this was yesterday. As he once again faced questions regarding his derision towards citizens who oppose civil rights violations tied to the Chinese coronavirus pandemic. Trudeau had a contentious week in Parliament after vanishing from the public eye for an undisclosed site in late January. Apparently it was at one of his cottages not that far away, but whatever. Allegedly to recover from the coof, even though he's, 3-4 times jabbed at this point. He returned Monday to to an emergency session discussing the Freedom Convoy, a series of protests led by truckers demanding the end to vaccine. And, well, really, just all mandates at this point, regardless of what level they are. We just want all of them gone. Every single one of these stupid mandates, and just a return to regular fucking life like many other places around the world already are. And several provinces have, acted as such, somewhat undermining his position right now, but Trudeau has repeatedly insisted that he would not listen to any calls for lifting the mandates and restoring normal life to Canada. He has accused the protesters of racism and misogyny and every other ism and phobe, and equated them to Nazis in his statement in Parliament on Monday as he was standing around his incompetent generals banging on the desk. The next day, he once again faced calls to meet with the opposition leaders and bring an end to the onerous mandate regime currently in place. The interim leader of the Conservative Party, Candice Bergen, who's been doing a really good job since taking the interim reins, asked Trudeau if he would consider ending restrictions once again. This cannot be a slow and dragged out process simply because the Prime Minister's ego, pride, or denial, Bergen said. Canadians are too tired. Canadians need hope. So will the Prime Minister follow the science? Follow this. How adorable to just throw that fucking trademark phrase back in his face. You love to see it. Follow the evidence and the restrictions and the mandates. Would you do it, Justin? Would you do it? Well, we already read the headline. Kind of spoiler, he didn't. Trudeau did not answer the question, instead asserting amid heckling and jeers, "We're going to continue to follow the science," trademark. "We're going to continue to have Canadians' backs. And if we don't have their backs, well, we'll just turn them around and knock them down like a little old man and bruise up his arms." We showed you this video yesterday, and based on what I seen there, and I want to give a little bit more of a complete picture of this, it's like, okay, yeah, he was getting bad advice. I didn't play any of the audio, mostly because it was just ponderous, but he was asked to show his license. It's like, okay, you do that when you're asked by a police officer, because otherwise you can get hit with a not providing identification ticket, or even better than that, just the nebulous terminology of unlawful conduct, or rather obstruction of a lawful arrest, obstruction of a police officer, obstruction of their duties, whatever the fuck they want to throw at them. But we seen the ticket that Jerry Shawboy ended up getting hit with, and it was a $118 fine for unnecessary noise. And I've seen some other interpretations of the injunction, the 10-day injunction in Ottawa, where you're not allowed to honk my horns or anything like that. But apparently it's only specific to air horns. So I don't know if he has an aftermarket horn on his fucking Honda Odyssey, but why he got cited for that, I don't really know. But again, was he resisting arrest? Yeah, kind of. But did they need to grab him, and did they really need 2 officers in order to drag him away? No, but apparently, and there's no way to corroborate that other than from the couple of pictures that you see there. You could kind of surmise, because he's not a big guy, okay? He's 4'10", so he's literally, legally a midget. So that could be grabbing pattern on his, what would that be? His right wrist, okay, at the top of the picture there. that could corroborate that. I would go along with that interpretation of the facts, and I have no reason to believe that any of this stuff is trumped up, because yeah, he's got bruised knees, but as you can see in this little gif that the Daily Mail provides, yeah, he ends up taking a tumble on the curb. But yeah, I would believe that he's not necessarily lying on this one. And as you can see here, yeah, all of this was over a $118 fine for unnecessary noise, which is, I guess, a citation for the time being. But yeah, we'll see how far that goes. About as far as a Trudeau rebuttal in the House of Commons. Bergen again asked him, anyways, yeah, going back to this, I needed to cover that for you guys, because there's going to be a lot of cleanup for the day. Anyways, Bergen again asked him to answer the question, but upon his second attempt, the jeering became so loud that he stopped abruptly and sat down to wait for it to end. Amid the shouting, one voice is heard saying, "Let him answer, he's not good at it." Oh, that's terrible. Speaker of the House of Commons, Anthony Rota, admonished the chamber and confirmed that the shouting was indeed jeers. The honorable leader of the opposition asked a question, and she's trying to hear, well, but she can't hear it above all the heckling and shouting that's going on. Yeah, well, that's the regular day in the House of Commons for you. So really, though, oh my god, all the protesting's getting so bad that not even the Prime Minister can address the people from his ivory tower. Oh my god, there's got to be somebody to blame for all of this, right? Yeah, Trump. Literally, they took the bait. They're living the meme. It's Orange Man's problem in Canada. Truckers, what the fuck is going on? The left blames Trump and Americans, right, all of the Americans that are up there right now in Ottawa. I'm sure there's some, in fact know that there are some, but blaming Trump and Americans for Canada's freedom convoy. What, for the right finding a spine? You wouldn't find any of that in the modern Republican Party, so I don't necessarily know what you're talking about. Canadian leftists and corporate media this week have begun denouncing the Freedom Convoy harder than they have before. It's not really working, though. Trucker-led protest against the civil rights abuses in the name of COOF pandemic restrictions by associating with former President Donald Trump, the alt-right. Can anybody point to the alt-right now? Like, okay, it was a talking point for a minute because it started out as something completely different than what it became, because it was co-opted by the likes of Richard Spencer and that crowd. Okay, have fun with that. In the January 6th Capitol riot, where, okay, there's actually a fair association to be drawn here, because there's the same amount of dead people that have resulted from the protests themselves, from both the January 6th Capitol picnic and the Freedom Convoy outside of Ottawa right now. Spoiler, it's zero. In reality, the Freedom Convoy movement refers to a series of protests in which truckers, who have been most onerously affected by interprovincial vaccine mandates and other coronavirus-related edicts, yes, have used their vehicles to occupy cities and border crossings. Not blocking anything, just, you know what, parking along the side of the streets, always making sure that there's one lane of traffic in both directions available and open for emergency vehicles. And it still hasn't changed, okay? Despite the overwhelming number of protesters in Ottawa and Toronto, Quebec, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, a bunch of places, just to throw that out there. And crossings all along the southern border. We'll get to those very shortly. Police have reported very few instances of violence. Some have come directly caused by police, like the one that we showed there. And another, because we gotta touch on what the police have actually been doing, because they haven't had any, you know what, protesters to crack down on, except for a 78-year-old fucking midget out there honking his horn, maybe, potentially. Don't really know. The Canadian left has begun to accuse the domestic movement of being associated with President. Aha! Yes, they're a part of QAnon, and they're the white hats fighting the black hats in Ottawa, and they're gonna take back the power, and they're gonna overthrow the government. Sounds like a Jagmeet Singh fever dream, if you ask me. Disregarding his effusive campaign for vaccination and his role in implementing the first wave of lockdowns in the United States. Yeah, just, you know, don't mention any of that. As well as elevating celebrity Dr. Anthony Fauci to a household name status. Well, he kind of did that on his own, but okay, sure. At the top of the list of accusers is the head of the radical leftist New Democratic Party. Didn't start out that way, but this is where we're at. Fidel Castro sympathizer, I guess he knows Justin's father, Jagmeet Singh, who has attributed the popularity and success of the Freedom Convoy to Trumpism and foreign actors without evidence. But that's never stopped Singh of accusing anybody of doing anything. Spread of Trumpism into Canada must be stopped. Can you point to it? And what do you mean by Trumpism exactly? You need to define those terms, and you need to figure out what you're talking about so we can properly ridicule you. Encouraging followers to join his campaign to shut down U.S. interference within the convoy. Okay, pal. Listen, the constituents of the NDP party, they look an awful lot like the coastal elites in the United States, just as an allegory. So they wouldn't be able to part ways too long from their cats. And also, if the elevator in their apartment doesn't work, there's no way they're taking the stairs. Have you seen the size of most of these people? His party's website blames, among others, Trump, Senator Ted Cruz, Fox News, and the alt-right. Cool. Fuck you, Jagmeet Singh. Listen, I've nothing left for this guy. I thought initially, way back in the day, when he first took over the party, I thought that, you know what, hey, we don't agree on literally anything, but I think you are a genuine guy. But yeah, no, he's genuine, all right? A genuine sack of crap. Yeah, like I said, we're going to be doing some cleanup here. So, like I said yesterday, and well, like Scott Moe said yesterday, vaccine mandates, all of the mandates are stopping in Saskatchewan. Timetable on that one, March 1st. Basically, everything's going to be lifted by the end of the month. Great stuff. We'll just clean this up for posterity's sake. Effective at 12:01 a.m. on February 14th, so starting Monday morning. Okay, proof of vaccination requirements will end in all businesses and provincially regulated workplaces in Saskatchewan. Means no, the vaccination proof or negative test option will no longer be the provincial requirement, the Premier said. And yeah, so the rest of the mandates are going to be dropped to at least by the end of the month, which is great to see. It's time for his statement on this when he delivered his press conference yesterday. It's time for us to get our to come together as families, as friends, as communities, as a province, and as a nation. And it's time for us to reach out and to support one another. Let's not judge our neighbor because they might not be vaccinated, because they may be vaccinated, or because they may not be vaccinated. To clarification, let's not judge our neighbor if they choose to wear a mask or choose not to wear a mask in the weeks ahead, whatever the fuck it is. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I don't care what you want to do with your body. If you want to be a whore, that's totally up to you. Okay. If you want to wear a winter coat all year long. Okay. If you want to wear a beanie all the time, I don't give a fuck what you do with your body. Just don't tell me what I have to do with mine. And that's cool. And that we can finally go back to normal. And it looks like we're going to be doing that in Alberta as well. A round of applause for freedom. But I'm not letting Jason Kenney forget a fucking moment of this. But actually, as of right now, vaccine passports aren't a thing in Alberta. Literally, he just showed the ridiculousness of the entire situation where he's like, okay, yesterday he made this announcement after I had everything all fucking sorted out. And apparently, yeah, he just showed up at his podium and he's like, listen, we've seen what Saskatchewan did. We'll do you one better. Vaccine passports. Yeah, tonight they're gone. Okay, everybody, today's going to be the final day, 12:01 tonight, effective February 9th at midnight. So today, first full day, no vaccine mandates. Everything else is going to get dropped by the end of the month, at least, okay? Kenny said in a news conference yesterday that high vaccination rates, yeah, sure, whatever, declining hospital cases, that's the sad truth about this. And the continued drop in the spread of Omicron variant makes it possible to end the passport program. Our approach to COVID must change as the disease changes. Yeah, no shit. These restrictions have led to terrible divisions amongst families. Thanks, they're all implemented by you, by the way. And friends, and inflamed sometimes tensions in our communities and neighborhoods. Don't know whatever you could possibly mean. They've disrupted and even destroyed so many livelihoods. Thanks for doing that, by the way. We will never know. We will never be able to know the full accounting of the extent of the pain and hardships and restrictions have caused. It'll bore out in the next 20 to 30 years the extent to which putting everybody's life on pause for the previous 2 years has caused. So all you're going to know is that there's a bunch of fucking problems that emerged from this that might not have been intended to begin with, but that's the fact about things. Knowing that going back and emulating the tactics of a totalitarian government in initial stages of this was never the correct thing to do. Gotta learn from this situation. So let's get into what's actually being lifted. As of February 14th, so Monday, mandatory masking rules for all kindergarten to grade 12 students, so school masks will be rescinded. Children aged 12 and under will also be exempt from general mask mandate outside of school settings. This measure will remain in place for the rest of the population in indoor settings until March 1st. As I have long said, kids have been subjected to the to a heavy and I think unfair burden throughout this pandemic. You did it. And given the very low threat that COVID-19 poses to the health of our children, so why'd you put these measures in place to begin with? It is no longer justifiable after 2 long years, and 3 different school years have been fucked over by this, to continue to disrupt and restrict the normal lives of kids. It's time to let kids be kids. I agree with the overall statement, but you still inflicted the damage year after year after year, so I won't let you forget. I'm just glad that this is happening. And yeah, looks like, hey, just shy of 2 full fucking years, we might be back to normal. We might be. And just a little bit more cleanup on yesterday. Okay, because yesterday, Joel Lightbound here, he was the MP who spoke up against Trudeau. Yeah, he really put his money where his mouth is, because he resigned from the cabinet, and he's like, listen, I can't be here. This shit is too fucked up, even for me. The Liberal MP who called the Prime Minister's pandemic response divisive and accused it of having become politicized has resigned from his position as the chair of Quebec caucus for the Liberal Party. Joel Lightbound, who on Tuesday held a press conference where he called for a review of vaccine mandates, passports, and travel bans, made the announcement via Twitter. That's why I might have missed it, or it happened after everything was all set in stone. Just hours after the explosive conference. I could read you that in French, but I wouldn't be able to understand it. So let's just get the translation. Following my press conference this morning, I have decided to resign as chair of the Quebec caucus. I will be very happy to support my successor in the continuation of our work, he tweeted in French. Lightbound was fairly critical of Justin Trudeau at several points during the press conference, saying it's time to stop dividing people, pitting people against each other. The tone of the policies of my government have changed since the election. Now the approach stigmatizes and divides people. Fucking based take, knowing that he's surrounded by Bloc Québécois supporters who are now overwhelmingly in support of the Freedom Convoy. So yeah, he's seen the writing on the wall, and he's actually doing this weird thing like listening to his constituents. But what's happening at these different borders? Well, it's starting to affect some red-headed communists out there. White House is worried about Freedom Convoy protests that key a U.S.-Canada bridge. Yeah, the busiest crossing between the two countries still being protested. You'd think if all of these illegal protests are springing up, why exactly are they just allowed to continue? The funny thing about that, White House said Wednesday it's watching very closely about what can you do? Do you want to invoke an even larger international incident? But you can continue to saber rattle, that's fine. Protesters blocking a key bridge that connects the United States to Canada, asserting that that it risks disrupting auto production, agricultural exports, and more. The point of order: how much auto production is happening in modern day Detroit? Just asking. Canadian protesters led by truckers who have amassed on the bridge are demonstrating to end the COOF mandates, namely vaccine requirements for truck drivers and everybody at this point, because their stated goals now are just lift all the mandates at every fucking level, and then we'll go. No, we'll be fine. The Ambassador Bridge is Canada's busiest link between the United States and accounts for about 25% of trade between the two countries, the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters on Wednesday. So the blockade poses a risk to supply chains. No. Just see the ships that are still backed up at the port of Los Angeles, and even once they do unload those ships, once they do make land, you got to contend with the raping and pillaging of the boxcars through the tracks of LA anyways. So don't try to fucking put this all on the protests up there at the border, you fucking mongoloid. What else do you have to say about the other border protests? Probably doesn't even know this one's going on, because that one, okay, the one right at Michigan and Ontario, that one's a lot closer, and that's the big one. But what about the protest that's down there at Coutts? Oh, I've heard a couple of different reports that, oh no, they negotiated an opening that's down there. Really? Because every time that I see anything that's going on down there, it still seems like the protest is going strong, and as you can see, this aerial footage here, still a bunch of trucks that are down there. Okay, over the weekend, there were cowboys making the trip down there. Literal fucking hat-wearing, horse-riding cowboys going down. I love Alberta sometimes. It's a great place. Protesters blocking Alberta's main U.S. border crossing at Coutts say that they are not leaving as long as federal COVID mandates, full stop, and restrictions continue to stay in effect, despite the province's vaccine passports now having been lifted. Yay. John Van Ryuk, very, very Albertan name, A feedlot operator in Coaldale, Alberta, said in an interview with the Canadian press that he and other protesters are blocking Highway 4 in solidarity with the trucker convoy that is driven to Ottawa to protest at vaccine all the mandates. I should stop saying just simply vaccine. We're here for the big picture. It started with the border thing. It started with Trudeau, and until Trudeau moves, we don't move. Based. While Venry Ryuk said he is grateful that Alberta Premier Jason Kenney recently ended the province's vaccine passport requirements. It's not enough. You're goddamn right, it's not enough, as people are still required to wear masks indoors. Overall, it's disappointing. There's some good that came out of that, but not even a 10%. Alright, first step, phasing out restrictions, take effect today. On the 13th, masks will no longer be required, and then yeah, March 1st, everything will be lifted as well. So, we're gonna see though, because I have a sneaking suspicion that shit is gonna be going down this weekend, because I was watching a couple of live streams that were going down in Ottawa again today, and yeah, it still seems like spirits are high, okay, and as we're seeing, the reason for that is as much saber rattling as the Ottawa Police, the Ontario Police, the RCMP are doing. It's really just that. It's a lot of hyperbole. It's a lot of very scary rhetoric and not a lot of action. Okay. Yeah, we've seen a little red wagon full of jerry cans, but then you take a look at other pictures, you take a look at other videos, and you just got the good police officers that are like, well, keep the shiny side up, boys. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and tell you that no, you shouldn't do that. I think we have some kind of a mandate. You're not allowed to, help out any of the truckers, but we're also not going to pay attention. So you guys just go ahead and do that. There are some good police officers that are out there, and you know why they're not really taking out any of their pent-up aggression outside of against a nearly 80-year-old man. Protest is protected by the charter. Legal groups supporting truckers tell the police. Yeah, it's probably because that's the case and they don't really have any legal justification until, of course, they just find a way to weasel it in, unless they're secretly passing laws right now. Because there's a lot of inflammatory talk by, I forget his name, whatever the fucking nutless cuck who's the mayor of Ottawa is talking at Jim something or other. Like, oh, they're violent and they have swastika flags and they got Confederate flags, which is just a lie on the face of it. Not that there weren't pictures of those happening. He's just saying that there were flags, like there were multiple. One flag and another flag on the first day. Outside of that, it's just been dance parties, bouncy castles, street barbecues, people picking up trash. It's like the epitome of a peaceful protest, but I've been over that a ton anyways, so. As police step up efforts to deter the Freedom Convoy demonstrators in Ottawa, some police, okay, the legal group representing the truckers is urging the authorities to respect their charter rights and peacefully protest. They're like, what the fuck is that? We don't really know. That's just the hierarchy anyways. In recent days, police have seized fuel and arrested individuals in relation to the transportation of fuel to supply the convoy. It is winter in Canada. Protesting publicly in freezing temperatures requires the truckers to have fuel to stay warm. Yeah, overnight, like today, when I tuned in, one of the first times, it was, -7, and it was supposed to get up to in on or around 1 degree. But I'm sure overnight it's probably going to be back below freezing, which is normal for this time of year. And another reason why we aren't seeing a lot of counter-protesters, because if this was happening in like June or even May, okay, you'd have all of those fair weather types be out there, but that's why there was only a couple dozen of the counter-protesters turn up last Saturday anyway, so we'll see if they're out in force. I haven't checked the temperature out there, but you know, they'll probably be just as NPC laden as before. We like the mandates. It's just like a stop sign. It's just like a driver's license to operate a vehicle. Yeah, sure. Tell us more how you tweet about the hashtag resistance on your iPhone while you're taking public transportation. Anyways, like the JCCF was talking here, it is winter in Canada. Protesting publicly in freezing temperatures requires the truckers to have fuel to stay warm. Confiscation of fuel jeopardizes the personal safety of the peaceful protesters. Lawyer Jay Cameron, litigator director at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, said in a statement yesterday, in efforts to end the ongoing demonstrations, the Ottawa Police Services had initially targeted the truckers' funds by lobbying crowdsourcing platforms GoFundMe to cancel the Freedom Convoy's fundraiser. In recent days, the OPS has moved to disrupt the truckers' fuel supply. Other unsubstantiated claims that I've seen out there as well, and feel free if you guys want to take a look at that as well, but some of the fuel has been returned by the police officers, and it may or may not not be contaminated, which I don't really know, because I've also heard some other things that they're only confiscating the field purple. Okay, farm purple, if you guys are familiar, cheaper diesel for the farm equipment. Okay, it's dyed with purple dye. At least it's purple up here in Alberta. It might be different wherever you're at, but it's only supposed to be used for farm use. So they might be using technicality in order to get the fuel off the streets that way. But again, it's not really a unified response on this one. The only thing that the Ottawa Police Department is unified in is taking credit for just openly colluding with big tech. Like, this is amazing. It's amazing. It's almost like he doesn't understand. Okay, and this is Chief Peter Slawley, who again doesn't understand the basics of admitting to a crime. But yeah, it was expected that a statement like this should be made, because it seemed fucking obvious, and you've got to have an explanation as to what exactly the police is doing, because yeah, they're calling in for reinforcements, okay, for the weekend. Which, another thing that I've heard about as well is they're going to be setting up like, all of this shit is hyperbolic, and I don't believe it until I actually see it. But I never thought that we'd see such a patriotic movement happen in the capital, but we're here right now. But this is something else that could be happening as well, because they're calling for 1,800 additional officers, okay, because that was in the Globe and Mail article from yesterday's video. But no, they're going to be setting up processing facilities in order to get every single individual trucker that ticketed and fined and removed from the streets. But again, if you don't have any tow truck operators that are going to be down there, it doesn't matter if you have 1,800 additional officers if none of them can drive trucks out of the place, and where the fuck are you going to put them to anyways? But so all of that shit just seems a bit absurd for me, so we got to deal with reality here for the moment. But let's see how he's gloating here, very, very stupidly and ill-advised. The chief of police in Ottawa says his efforts and those of the city are behind the cancellation of the GoFundMe campaign in support of the Freedom Convoy. Chief Peter Slawley outlined the enforcement actions taken so far against protesters in the press conference on February 7th, and said that these actions were responsible for the reduced numbers of trucks and people participating. No, that's just the lull that happens during the week. We'll see if anything picks up over the weekend, because it still looked like there were still thousands of people in downtown Ottawa, and going down different streets, looking at people's different perspectives. It doesn't look like a lot of the vehicles have moved, so I don't know if you won't ever give us an accurate count to the amount of people that are down there, or the amount of trucks that are down there. You can just go ahead and fudge the numbers in whatever direction fits your narrative at the moment, now can't you? Okay. He said targeting the protesters' funding has been key. What particularly has occurred on a significant nature, we went after the funding. He said this, okay? This isn't a misrepresentation of the facts. This isn't a hyperbolic rewriting of events. This is what he actually said. Our efforts, combined with the city's efforts, so again, implementing the city of Ottawa itself, eliminated the GoFundMe. $10 million are no longer accessible to the demonstrators. Yeah, but you take a look at the Give, Send, Go, which again, I won't bring up because that was a bit from yesterday and it ran its course. It's just about at $8 million right now, okay? So they're just about halfway to they just had a goal that was up there, okay? Because if the GoFundMe was still up there, if they weren't being political hacks about this, they'd be at the $16 million threshold that they have set for the Give, Send, Go. Obviously, they can go ahead and surpass that, and it's just been ticking up ever so slightly whenever anybody goes and visits it, because it continuously gets support. Unlike you, because you're working on these false flag efforts, which are just falling on fucking deaf ears, dude. And you guys just keep on attacking in different ways because, yeah, no, nobody was taking your fucking swastika flag seriously. Nobody was taking your Confederate fucking plant seriously. So what are you going to be doing now? Well, read the headline. Ottawa Police concerned about truckers' kids being at the protest. Because these people, this is another common theme of the left. They think that they should have control of your kids. Not for any specific reason. They just think that they should have control over it. That's why they don't want you questioning anything that's going on in the public school system. That's why they want to be able to indoctrinate them with whatever they say, okay? Because they have the best intentions for your children in mind, because they want to build their utopiast society. Seems a little bit far-fetched, but is it really? Especially when you get talk of this. We'll rely on guidance from Children's Aid. What are the holdovers from the Nazi regime? Speaking of swastika flags, the Health and Human Services Department, the Child Care Initiative of the federal government. So yeah, All of those leftist simps that are out there, they're also Nazi simps. Don't let them forget that. Ottawa authorities are having a difficult time ending the trucker protest because minors are in the equation, per the city's deputy police chief at Tuesday's presser. Listen, we've tried fucking everything, but nothing's working. So now it's won't somebody please think of the children? That's what they're talking about. They're saying that our mandates are ruining their children's lives. So guess what? Because the mandates aren't going anywhere and that children's lives are being ruined, the government needs to step in. Is that their justification? Ottawa's police deputy chief, Steve Bell, says 25% of trucks camped out in Ottawa, nice round estimation, I'm sure, have children living in them. Really? Is that true? Because again, I've been watching these streams and I don't see any kids living in the trucks. Okay, I see kids down at the protests, but they're being driven in by their parents. So, okay. Bell says police are greatly concerned about children living in trucks, the risk of carbon monoxide fumes. Yeah, but listen, we don't care. That's why we're just trying to stop all the fuel that's coming in sporadically, because we care about carbon monoxide fumes, cold sanitation, and noise levels for kids. Okay, for kids and cat ladies up in the apartments, theoretically, I guess, whatever. Through intelligence, we've learned that almost 25% of the 418 trucks encamped in our city, we actually have an estimate, have children living in them, children who could be at risk during a police operation or occupation, whatever you want to say. Hay bales, a play area, bouncy castles have been set up with the children within the confines of the protest zone. There's also reports of protesters hugging, all very dangerous. They could be spreading the coof right now and they don't even know it. Wow. They're going after the kids. Why are they taking this fucking grand step? Why are they trying to make this the hill they die on? Well, obviously because they keep on failing at every single instance. Okay. Like they had this other false flag effort, and this is where we're going to end today. And it's like, okay, over the weekend, I think this was Sunday night, just as the state of emergency was happening. And yes, Ottawa City Council has been bringing this up to, oh my God, there was this plotted terrorist attack that was happening in an apartment building for reasons they were trying to burn the building down with strange methods, which we'll talk about. And they were trying to lock everybody inside while also being inside and starting the fire and using tape to close the handles together. Okay, listen, and there's some images of these people who said before they even identified who they were. They said that they were with the convoys, people wearing masks and having purple hair. Obviously, with the protests, right? No, definitely not a subversionist effort to smear the protests. Obviously not. Police are investigating what appears to be an attempt to start a fire in the lobby of a downtown Ottawa apartment building, where tenants say that they have been besieged by anti-vaccine mandate protesters raging in the nation's capital for more than a week, and it's going to continue. The protesting will continue until freedom improves. Ottawa Police on Monday released security cam footage. I've heard about this story for a minute, but I needed to see the picture of these people just to confirm what my suspicions were the entire time. Footage from the lobby of the Lisgar Street apartment buildings as it sought out the public's help identifying suspects in the February 7th blaze. What exact blaze are we talking about here? The attempted blaze? Sure. Police say it's believed that one or more persons entered the building and started a fire using undisclosed materials. Yep, fire starter bricks apparently. Which again, if you've been watching any of the protests going on there, these are people who are competent in their cooking, in their heating, in their building abilities. Okay, this isn't like the Chaz, okay, which descended into violence, chaos, rape, and murder within a couple of days. This is a bunch of people, a bunch of blue-collar people with tangible skills being able to withstand the fucking cold. Like I said, this is Canada. In the winter, in fucking February, when this shit is going down. Not a bunch of fucking gender studies graduates in the middle of a fucking park with the support of all of the city council down there trying to grow food on fucking cardboard, okay? And then everything goes to hell in 4 days, and they already had firearms being brought in within the confines of the autonomous zone or occupied protest, depending on what hour we're talking about exactly. None of that's happened so far in Ottawa, though. But yeah, no, they needed fire starter bricks in order to set up a fucking apartment building. Press X'd it out. Seriously. No injuries were reported, and the fire caused only minor damage. Yeah, Matthias Munoz said that when he came downstairs Sunday morning, he saw the carpet and floor were charred. minor damage, okay? They couldn't even get a carpet set on fire, really? And that there were blackened fire starter bricks strewn across the lobby. Very serious, very scary. But this is what the Ottawa Police are running with, by the way. People who identified as being with the convoy, right? Obviously. Building manager showed him a surveillance video, which he said appears to show two men light a package of bricks in the lobby and secure the front door handles together using tape, leaving through the side door around 5 a.m. Sunday. So yeah, they were going to trap everybody inside and kill them ablaze, but they were just able to leave through a side door. Again, very scary arson attempt. There are more than 100 units in the building, he said, and he added that he could only imagine what would happen if the fire had caught to the wood panel walls nearby. Yeah, because everybody it's just tinder, and there's not like there's a proper sprinkler system in a downtown Ottawa apartment building. Just saying. Building is just 7 blocks south of Parliament Hill. Relatively far away from the epicenter and not terribly close to where any of the protesters proper are happening, but yeah, no, definitely. Some residents said that they were already at their wits' end with the constant noise from honking and fireworks at night. I've never heard anybody talk about any of the fireworks that's down there. Only in these vague allusions to the honking that never stops, even though you talk to people who live closer than 7 blocks, okay? They're all saying that the honking ceases at around 10 or 11 o'clock. Maybe Saturday, maybe once, but whatever. Road blockages and reports of broken windows and harassments on the street. Top all of that, somebody trying to do something as insidious as taping the door shut so people can't leave. And if there's a fire in the main lobby, it's terror, it's what it is. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson, oh, that's his name, Watchison. Watches his son bang. Anyways, brought the investigation up as part of the special council meeting to address the ongoing demonstrations on Monday. He said the horrific story clearly demonstrates the malicious intent of these protesters occupying our city. Yeah, again, do those look like truckers? Do those look like people who would be sympathetic to the Freedom Convoy? Like I said, I'll just let you guys decide on that one. But that's the cleanup for the Freedom Convoy today. We're going to be talking about more about the states and their reluctance to let freedom reign. Imagine that. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. Why don't you follow your gut and you get after it. Take care, everyone.